The Chicago Bears have quietly signed a critical piece for the 2024 season. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy here with Chicago Bears React, bringing you all the Chicago Bears news you're seeking during the season and now here in the off season. Before we dive into today's story, though, please take a moment, like, subscribe, and make sure you've turned on notifications. Free agency is going to be bringing out news fast, and we're going to be covering everything here, and you won't want to miss it. So, as I mentioned, free agency officially opened today at noon. And while the Bears have been largely, I don't want to say inactive, but they've been largely quiet today, they did make a very important signing, and that is signing running back DeAndre Swift to a 3-year, $24 million contract. DeAndre Swift was with the Eagles this past year. Before that, he was with Detroit for 2-3 years. We'll have to double check that. 3 years, yeah. So this is someone that Bears fans know. This is someone that I think Bears fans may be a little underwhelmed by, just because he wasn't much of a contributor during his time in Detroit, but we're going to take a look at him because I think this is actually a very interesting signing. I think it's a signing that Bears fans should feel good about. And so if we kind of just take a look at his bio, one thing that I believe will immediately jump off the page to people is the fact that he's not as old as you might think he is. He is actually younger than Khalil Herbert. He just in January turned 25. Khalil Herbert's going to turn 26 this April. So this is actually, despite having completed 4 years in the NFL, he is still a young back. This is a 3-year deal. He's going to he's not going to hit that age 30 season at any point with the Chicago Bears on this contract at the very least. And so, if we take a look then at kind of what you're getting when it comes to Khalil Herbert, or not Khalil Herbert, to DeAndre Swift. This is someone who, again, in Detroit, we're seeing 500 yards, 600 yards, 500 yards, and then last year, 1,000 yards rushing. What's important, though, is, if we look in Detroit, he was never really the lead back. He only started a total of 16 games over those 3 seasons. And even you look at these attempts, this is not someone who has a lot of mileage on him. But he has averaged for his career 4.6 yards per carry. That's nothing to sneer at. This is somebody who has been efficient and effective running the football, even if he has been a little limited. So why is that important to me? Well, because we've already established he's still pretty young. Then the other piece that I think is probably more critical is the fact that he doesn't have a ton of mileage on him in the way that some of these other running backs would have. He's coming off a season when he played 16 games, started 15 of those. And so this is somebody who, at least more recently, has shown some durability. Guys like Saquon Barkley, very exciting. But Saquon isn't a young player anymore, and he has very much struggled to stay healthy and stay on the field. So, what are you getting here? Are you getting the top running back on the market? No. You're getting probably a league average running back. It's kind of how I'd put it. But this is going to be a pass-happy offense. And so even though I know a lot of people have pointed out that Kenneth Walker in Waldron's offense was very effective, the Seahawks were still, by every metric, a pass-happy team. And so when you look at that, you say, okay, this isn't the most critical position, but it's still a position you had to solve. And so why did you have to solve that? Well, I think if we take a look at Khalil Herbert and what he was bringing to the table, again, this is somebody who is a little bit older than DeAndre Swift. He's a little smaller than DeAndre Swift, though not by much. At the same height, he's probably, maybe 5 pounds lighter. But it's the durability that I think is the real key here. He's played 3 seasons. The last 2, though, 13 games, 12 games. This is somebody who, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. And you look at these numbers and, he's They're pretty similar in yards per carry. I think the numbers for Khalil are a bit inflated because he was often brought in as kind of a change of pace back in the past, and I think that enabled him to maybe inflate some of those numbers a little bit. He is not the same level of receiver, though. As we see here, he's only had over 3 seasons 43 receptions. If we go back to DeAndre Swift has only had 1 season with less than 43 receptions in that season. And so this is somebody who, he's not going to be blowing it out of the water necessarily in terms of receiving, but DeAndre Swift is a more reliable pass catching option than Khalil Herbert. So, we look at this and we say this is definitely, I would say, a clear upgrade. This is definitely someone that I think Bears fans should be, somewhat excited about. And, he comes at a much cheaper price tag. And so, let's take a look at what the Green Bay Packers have done. Green Bay Packers went out and got one of the top guys on the market. They went and signed Josh Jacobs. He's going to be making about $15 million this year. So, great. You guys got, the Packers got a phenomenal running back, and kudos to them. But from a team building standpoint, you don't want to be spending that kind of money on a running back. You just don't. And so the Bears getting DeAndre Swift for half the cost, I think is a smart move. Today, the Packers signed 2 guys at the same positions the Bears have signed. They've signed a running back and they signed a safety, and they spent over $30 million doing that. And the Bears solved that, filled that position themselves, those 2 positions, for about 15. They spent about half that money. And so what does this mean to me? To me, it says Ryan Poles has something up his sleeve, because I just don't see a scenario where we're seeing these kind of cheaper deals being thrown out early for kind of more middle-of-the-road players unless there's a big deal in the works. I think Danielle Hunter is someone who could be on the table, or another one of these top kind of defensive end options. I think it's entirely possible that the Bears could be looking to bring in a wide receiver. There's options out there. They still got to sign a center. They still have to get a second tight end. There's some needs here that I think the Bears will need to address. And so I don't think the Bears are done. I think we should all be keeping our eyes glued to what's going on in House Hall, because there's going to be some exciting movement in the next couple of days. So let me know what you think. So in the comments, I want to hear from you. What do you think is the next position the Bears are going to sign a free agent for? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. And as always, bear down.